question I've had often after Mass or in some of the workshops I've given is what book should I use or what book should I buy to follow the music and the singing of the Mass? The answer is it depends. And it depends first how you want to follow or sing the Mass. Do you want to follow all of the notes and the music or just the text? And that's the first thing to decide. And the second most important thing is which form of the Roman Rite are you following? Are you following the ordinary form of the Roman Rite or the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite? If you don't know, most likely you are following the ordinary form of the Roman Rite. That's when the priest is facing the congregation, when you have English spoken at some point in the Mass or sung. And the extraordinary form, for in short, is when you have the priest not facing the congregation, facing the altar. It's called ad orientem. And when most of what you hear is in Latin. Now, I want to say that some people call the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite the Latin Mass. It is not correct. The Latin Mass can also be had in the ordinary form of the Roman Rite. Why is there some confusion? Let's talk a little bit about the rubrics. The rubrics, what we call the rubrics, are the rules to have Mass, the rules of what should be sung, what should be said, what action should be taken to have an efficient Mass. The rubrics in the ordinary form, which are the most common form of the Mass in our days, have been established at the Vatican II Council, and those rubrics allow a lot of options. But there is a first option which say that the use of the Latin should be preserved in the Mass, and that Gregorian should be given pride of place. That Gregorian chant is the first and the proper song of the Church at Mass and in all of the liturgy. In reality, most parishes after Vatican II ignored that first option and just went for the third, fourth, or made up some new options. And the proper application of the Vatican II rubrics has never really been implemented. In the extraordinary form, what is the extraordinary form? It is a new term that was really coined by Pope Benedict XVI in his Motu Proprio Summorum Pontificum in 2007, authorizing a broader use of the pre-Vatican II rubrics of the Mass in the time post-Vatican II. So then it was called the extraordinary form of the Mass to, differentiate it from the ordinary form of the Mass, following different rubrics. Those rubrics before Vatican II were quite strict. There are three kinds of Mass you could have. You could have a solemn Mass with deacon, subdeacon. You could have, and of course a schola. You could have a missa cantata, a sung Mass with a schola, and enough deacon and acolytes to take the proper actions. Or if you didn't have any of the above, you could do a low Mass. Because those rules were strict, then loopholes were invented, like the sung low Mass. The sung low Mass is when you follow all the rubrics of the low Mass, but you sing some songs in between. And the only rule is that it should not be the same songs as in the Missa Cantata or in the Solemn Mass. So that's a loophole, though, and that's what gave us what we call the four hymn sandwich. And that's why you sometimes hear in the extraordinary form of the Roman Rite some English hymns. So the Latin use in the extraordinary form is not an absolute rule. So the irony here is that Vatican II made the rules a little more flexible to accommodate the loopholes that were before Vatican II, but most people who go to the extraordinary mass don't like the fact that Vatican II changed the rules, that they had a loophole already established, and it's an irony that. But in short, what you should know is what form of the Roman Rite you're following, ordinary or extraordinary. If you don't know, ask your priest.